The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Holy damn. I think my name speaks for itself. Welcome back to my headphones falling off my head. Welcome back to the number one Contender podcast, the show where your favorite nerds talk about the movie trivia schmodown. I am your host and mournful Korruption stan, Jarod Bachman Stubbs. Mournful, but there is hope, for we have also found victory in defeat. But I'm joined by Travis, and I'm not going to invoke any specific faction for no particular reason.
I don't understand. You always mention that I'm a quirky merc and dungeon head.
Well, it was certainly a good week to be one of those things.
Yeah.
For the other.
Death to all of them.
But yeah, we have a jam-packed week. And I think, as we normally do when the weeks are kind of heavy like this, we are going to go through in chronological order and start with the Friday Night Titans before Free4All. We're going to talk about Free4All, and then we're going to talk about this most recent Friday Night Titans that had some stunning revelations. But before we do any of that, first, a word from our sponsor, and then some housekeeping. So, there we go. So first things first, sundaysbloodymary.com/shop gets you the best Bloody Mary accoutrement on the planet. The Spicy Caesar Mix, award-winning Spicy Caesar Mix, is my favorite. There's also the mild and vegan mixes there for you. They also have things like their pickle garnishes and rim salt, a subscription box so you can get 2 jars a month so you can keep getting your bloody fix. And they have some merch, including this kick-ass dad hat. So go to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop. Use code TNAP at checkout, TNAP, and you get 10% off your order. Now, for housekeeping, at time of record and time of upload, at 5:30 EST, I'm going to be live with Multiple Fan Base Podcast and Comic Book Cast, so we can do our spoiler review stream of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That will be coming out. That will be streamed tonight. It will also be released in the podcast feed, and it kind of as a bonus episode. And we'll also be recording TNAP as well, Travis and I. So the Travis can give his thoughts on the Multiverse of Madness, and so we can also talk about the Moon Knight finale. There's also been some news from what I saw. I took a little bit of a nappy poo, a little breaky for me. So I guess we got a new Ms. Marvel trailer while I slumbered, which I gotta watch.
To me.
And yeah, and that'll be news for you guys on the main show this week. Devin and I are working hard to get all of the prequel era movie club episodes out for you. And speaking of Star Wars month, we are fast approaching Star Wars Celebration. And while I will not be on the convention floor with so many of our lovely friends, I will be in this very room live streaming all day long, covering all the news coming out of Celebration. Let me throw this up there. Courtesy to Pete Fletcher of Around the Galaxy for making that sexy thumbnail for me. Pete always comes in clutch. So, yeah, we're going to be live all 4 days of Celebration, covering everything, trailer reactions. So what we plan on doing is that there's going to be basically 2 streams each day. There will be a stream covering the goings on of Celebration, and then at the end of the day, there will be a recap. And throughout both of them, we're going to have folks from the Celebration floor calling in throughout the day who, will be familiar faces to all of you. So, yeah, very excited for all of that. Very excited to get the ball rolling with a lot of that stuff. What I'm not excited about is talk about this first match.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
Can I interest you in some soap to wash away your tears?
Piss off. Listen, I'll put it this way. If I had to watch them lose, I would rather they go out fighting like hell the way they did, like that.
Oh,
The way
yeah.
they went out on top. They went out like the baddest motherfuckers that they are. As upset I am to see them go, and as much as I'm kind of hamming it up, I am in no way ashamed of what they did in that match. I think they did great. And, and again, stakes are very different. I know I've never been in something as intense as a match like that, but, for those of you who are, again, going back to the tight-knit Star Wars community, we're a part of, that little trivia thing I did with Bombad Cast, that's why Spencer and I lost. I did the same thing Mike did. I did the same exact thing Mike did, where the answer felt like it came to you too easy. And he had that moment. He's like, what? No, it can't just be 5. Why did we count 6? Like he said in the post game. I get it. I get it completely. Like I said, I did the same thing. I did the same damn thing that he did. And I cannot begrudge him that. It's human. And they have nothing to hang their heads over. I think that I think the fact that they're, especially for Chance in particular, the fact that Chance's entire Schmodown career up to this point, which, again, it's good to put in perspective that Chance is a younger dude and still has plenty of gas in him for the future. His career has been spent as one half of one of the greatest teams of all time, and is only going to move on to bigger and brighter things. And I think, we were talking about this before, and I think it's especially going to be interesting, especially when we're talking about the free-for-all. I do think it's going to end up being Chance and Marisol.
It just makes
I
sense.
think that it just makes sense. You have 2 powerhouses within the same faction. If you strip away the kayfabe and you strip away the pageantry of it all, it makes sense that Mike sat down with Chance and said, hey, I really want to focus on singles and IG. And Shazam is this nut that we just can't crack. Maybe you and I give it a rest for a little while as a team. And you do what you got to do. I do what I got to do. And we'll kind of find our own way here for a minute. That makes all the sense in the world. And again, it paves the way for a new team. And the fact that Korruption is the longest lived team up to this point in this current era of the Schmodown, I think speaks volumes to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proud of my boys.
To be fair, I'm
And that
also
gives you-
glad they went down fighting. You know, I would have been very upset if it was a absolute stomp in Shazam's favor, and now they have to quit being a team. That is, I almost said that's the closest they've ever been, but I mean that sudden death last year was pretty insane.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I can't remember if it was Guy or Ellis who even said it was like the last time these guys played it. Almost, they almost went into sudden death for an hour. It's very nerve wracking stuff. You can't shake it. You can't bash on them for it. They did an incredible job, and I take pride in the fact that it took beating Korruption this many times to add to the legacy and legend of Shazam being the greatest team of all time. Like when you're that good, you need a worthy opponent.
Yes, that is true.
But yeah, I mean, and Mike got me. Mike got me like he always does. Just seeing him, the way he was talking about Chance. He's like, I got a teammate, but I also got a friend, and then I got a brother, and I was verklempt. I was in my bag. But yeah. We've been talking about the emotion and how depressing it is that they're breaking up. But that match itself, once I told Travis that I had finished the match, we both almost before. So let me give you guys like the lowdown on how this went down. I watched Korruption v Shazam on Tuesday of last week. So that was what date was that?
I have no idea.
God, I hate this goddamn update. Anyway, it was last Tuesday. And I just finished Korruption versus Shazam. And they say that the rest of the episode is going to be taken up by them pulling numbers for Free4All. So I turn it off because I'm like, I don't want to know who's coming out and when for Free4All. I want to be surprised. So I stopped watching. That's important for later. For both of us.
So you know how for Titans they upload. Maybe you don't know this actually. For Titans, they upload the matches by themselves. One day they'll upload one, the next day they'll upload the next one. They only uploaded at the time only uploaded Shazam v Korruption, which I knew was the match and the thing. And I was like, oh, and I listened to that match.
Yeah.
So I also didn't know what happened in the back half of Titans. I figured maybe we had a lot of like the match, and they're also a lot more cut down now. They cut out a lot of the like intermittent dialogue between rounds, and so in the
those
Spotify
uploads
feed,
are just straight trivia.
It's like 30 minutes. So I figured like the whole thing's like 2 hours. You figure there's like the time at some point in it for him to talk about the other YouTube channels and shows and stuff. And they have all the lead up into the match, and then whatever happens from the fallout, we either have new
promos,
champions
cutscenes, intros, previously on.
They could feasibly make a ridiculously long episode of Titans out of this one title match.
Yeah.
So I didn't think anything of it.
Neither did I. I believed them, silly me. I learned a lesson this week, and Roxy Stryer didn't have to tell me this, but I learned: don't trust anyone. this week.
Especially
yeah,
the
so
timestamp.
especially a time code. So I shut it off, and it like almost perfect timing. Or no, it was Wednesday. It was Wednesday last week. So my mom came home from work while we were still watching the Free4All. I get the message from Travis that he's here and that we're going to go get our sheets so we can watch the Free4All together. And I get in the car, I shake his hand, and I go, "Your boys won fair and square. You know, this is one rivalry we don't get to share anymore." And I took the L like a gentleman. Still got that IG shit though.
Soon.
Soon TM. But I shook his hand and I took the L like a gentleman. And then after we had a brief, damn, I can't believe Korruption is gone conversation, we both immediately went, "So that Pirates of the Caribbean question." And how many? 5. Wild. Fucking wild. I cannot believe that happened.
I want to know, because, like, I want to know why Bibbs just went 5.
Like, did they even get to even saying Jeffrey Rush's name?
No, they said no.
It was like, in
relevant
how many
text
Pirates
to
of the
question.
Caribbean films?
Yeah. They didn't even say films. They might not have even said Caribbean. They might have only gotten to, in how many Pirates of the 5.
That was such a bold thing to do. Because, like, the only characters who are in all 5 are Jack and Barbossa. Will and Elizabeth aren't in the 4th one, if I remember correctly. I don't even think there's 2 goofy ass pirates, like the fat guy and the skinny guy. I don't even think they're in the 4th one. The 4th one is just this very weird, like, side story. Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann don't show up again until the 5th one. And I haven't seen the 5th one. I just know that from, like, marketing and shit. And, like, online discourse, what have you. So, like, that was such a shot in the dark. It could have been Orlando Bloom's Will Turner or Elizabeth Swann or Keira Knightley's Elizabeth Swann. Like, that was crazy. And I wish, and maybe he did and I didn't catch it, I wish Frank had asked him, like, what was that? Because that seemed uncharacteristically aggressive for Bibbs.
I'm wondering if maybe his, like, hand twitched on the buzzer, realized he had done it, and was like, I'm just gonna say how many films there are.
It was just so wild. And like I said, maybe I didn't catch, or I don't remember Frank asking Bibbs about the Pirates Gambit. But, like, that was crazy.
Is that what we're going to call it now? The Pirates Gambit?
Yeah, I came up with that in that moment. The Pirates Gambit. William Bibiani's Pirates Gambit. But it was so cool. Like, I'm cheering for the other team, and I'm like, damn! Holy shit, dude. Oh, that was wild. And like I said, like Korruption's like picking steals off of him in the 2nd round. Like, and again, the only thing I knew about this match going in was what Coy put on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Travis, I was like, I read Coy Jandrew's tweet, and it could sincerely go both ways. It could, like reading his tweet, not knowing the outcome of the match, I was like, either Coy is saying a respectful, like he's being a gentleman in victory, saying goodbye to Korruption, or he's being a gentleman in defeat and praising Korruption. And I couldn't tell which one. That is before I had watched the match. So I was very curious as to what we were going to get out of this. But yeah, no, I mean, Shazam won the day. That betting round is what sealed it. That betting round, holy hell. I think, and these are one of those situations where it's not that like one team necessarily did poorly. It's that the other team was so unbelievably fucking dominant. And Bibbs was just a monster in that speed round. And he undid the haymakers that Chance and Mike were able to land on them in the previous rounds. But yeah, no, absolutely unbelievable. So there was that. At which point Travis and I stopped watching because we thought, oh, they're just pulling numbers. I don't want to know who's coming out and when for Free4All, especially seeing as I was about to watch Free4All immediately after watching that match. So we're sitting down and it's Christian and Mark at the desk for Free4All. And they're like, Korruption recently disbanded. I took a very sad bite of my burrito when they said that. Paulo Yama versus Sam Levine. And Travis and I both went, excuse me? And then realized that no numbers were pulled in that video. It was a
and we had been
switch.
had.
And we had been had. We had been hoodwinked. We had been bamboozled. We were had, as Travis said. So last night when I came home from work, went back and watched this title match. And, let me say this much. Paulo Yama has proved himself several times over as a dominant, powerful movie trivia showdown competitor. But there is no worse position to be in than having a rough match. I got to wake up from the nightmare and Korruption still together.
No.
There's nothing worse than having a bad day against someone who, at least up to that point, couldn't bleed. And we were talking about it during the Free4All, where like I do my Star Warsian power rankings for the Schmodown. We use like Padawan, Knight, Master, Council Member, Grandmaster. Sam Levine is Grandmaster. Like we were talking like at one point when Sam was still on stage for Free4All. And I said, like, this is a perfect, like, if you're asking me to explain what I qualify what as, and I went, and I think it was one of the very early tables that was just nothing but powerhouses.
No, I'm pretty sure it was at once. It was the second time they brought out a table of powerhouses. It was Bateman, Merle, Video Drew, Andraco, because spoilers, Andraco's back, and somebody else who I cannot recall. Oh, Mike.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and granted, this is within the context, and this is before Travis and I fucking watched Sam Levine KO Paulo Yama.
Mm-hmm.
All we heard, because he and I were too busy going, oh, I guess we missed something, was that Sam had defended against Oyama. So he's three matches perfect. And as Frank said, he is 69 questions answered correctly. Nice. And I said, I was like, I said, this is exactly what I'm always talking about. And I said, like, this is a perfect encapsulation. We just go council member, master, council member, fucking Yoda with Sam.
I believe your Yoda was actually in reference to Dan Merle, but I think
you're right. Yeah,
it applies.
but it's both of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got this granular then, but you could just go Yoda and Mace
Yeah,
again for a good comparison.
I was about to say that
with Sam and Dan. Depending on the day, like it's just that you're just so ingrained into the upper echelon. And I just think it's a convenient way of demonstrating how I kind of see the power differentials, plus, the Star Wars division is my favorite, so we have a little fun with it. But yeah, it was back to this match again. It's hard. It is so hard to be up against someone who is seemingly unkillable, and then to also have a bad day. I remember the moment I was looking at the scorecards on their podiums when I went, "Oh God, the math is over here." Paul needs to hit this. Bloop. Sam hits it. It's KO. And I don't know how much free for all factors into PPE percentages. Just with the nature of free for all.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, a point, a point available is a point available, regardless of setting. So it is what it is. This is the first. I mean, it was a slew of Sam's first misses, but in a gladiatorial arena like free for all, moving forward, I'm not going to talk about Sam's first miss until he misses one in a straight up match.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That's just right. Because it doesn't matter. He's number one in the free for all. There's no way you can't get upwards of 200 questions perfect.
I mean, not only that, just the nature of free for all, people we've seen go perfect before don't.
Yeah.
It's just the free for all is so messy, and is again the battle royale nature of it is just so chaotic that I'm not going to talk about Sam missing until he misses in an actual match. But yeah, he is a monster, and it's almost like he got more powerful in retirement, and it's kind of terrifying.
Well, and that's when you got to think about we kind of talked about before how players that are both players and management are privy to being very potent players. Because as management, you spend so much time training your people that, I'm sure the Barbarian doesn't take as much time for himself to study just because of how much studying residually he gets from practicing with from studying up other exchange members.
He stays spry by running drills with his students. Yeah.
Next, last season for Sam was probably just some ungodly training session that we don't he might not even realize it was for him. And maybe that's why he's playing this year. To go, oh wait, I think I can come back and do well.
On top of that, being a manager, not only do you spend so much time training your players, and again, you got to remember, like, there are factions, that rely on its teammate leadership for training, like the Exchange and the Barbarian, like Korruption with Mike and Chance, that like they are the point men, they're the boots on the ground. Again, Shannon is like Korruption as a faction to 2 championships in a row. Like, it's not like she's a slouch, but as we saw, she's not a trivia person herself, but she's a good tactician. She's good at making teams happen. And you can be a good tactical manager and not good at trivia. To be a manager, you don't have to be good at trivia at all. Sam has spent so long as a manager that I think his whole shit became tactics as management, and like really, really, really soaking himself in the nuance and mechanics of the game. Because again, when he had his legendary run, take a shot, everybody, we're about to say it, that was pre a lot of the Ben Bateman Moneyball bullshit. Right? So you have Sam Levine, who's been a manager post Ben Bateman moneyballing the Schmodown. Like, of course he's a fucking monster now.
Yeah.
He has spent so long. Like, I think the only way Sam could have gotten better is now that, like, the meta has become studying, practicing, training, really understanding, what spread of points puts you in either a white knuckle duel to the death or when you can take a breath. And again, he got lucky that Paul fucked up.
Yeah, it's
that's a
not
big
Paul's
part of it.
fault.
No, of course it happens. Of course.
Like, you're coming in from, he hasn't played in 7 to 9 months, and he's coming in for a championship match.
That's a great point. And I mean, obviously, like, we reserve the term ring rust for people who've been out for much longer, but you're right. It's been a hot minute since we saw Paul, and he jumped feet first into a title shot.
It's been that long since he played. Not since he played in a studio setting, since he played. Then you factor in all the time it's been since he played live.
Yeah.
Like, this is definitely, I think just it's a warm up for Paul. It was a good way to get his feet wet again. And he'll be back. He's still with Winston. They work well together. We know what they can do as a pairing of manager and player. I have no doubt he'll be back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's coming, and he's coming for the throat. Moving on to the big event from the week, Free4All. Had a wonderful time watching this with Travis, as always. It was a great time. Actually, I'm going to pull up some news you guys may not be aware of. Hold on. Travis, give your thoughts on Free4All while I pull up the funniest thing that happened to us this week.
It was great. Had a lot of fun. Bibbs being number 2 again made me cackle, and then Bibbs being thankful that he was done so early, in comparison so early, also made me cackle. Because I thought him saying his leg was hurting him real bad that day was a shoo-in sign that he was going to, like, the final table.
The universe won't let the man rest.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's too engrossed. He's like, I can't just answer wrong. That's not cool. But also, I want to sit down. But also, I'm always still standing.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Bibbs out early, but the way he was like, "Thank you," I can't say I was disappointed only because I'm glad the man got to have a seat. Um, there were the typical didn't mean to do that. Typical banner performances from people in Free for All. But there were some people who really showed up to whoop ass. And I want to call attention to Paul Preston. Um, there is nobody I I sincerely feel worse for in the free for all setting than the runner up who didn't last the longest. You know, like Bibbs, that happens to Bibbs, I think maybe a couple times, or at least once, I know for certain, where he was there the longest and was like at like either the final table or the final table or the next to last table. And I think it was 19 where it came down to JTE, Merle, and Bibbs. They bumped Bibbs. It was JTE v Merle, and then Merle won. If I remember correctly, that was 2019, and then I turned 21 2 days later and celebrated. So might be wrong. But THE whooped ass, and Bateman being the MVP, I get it because mathematically he was there the longest.
Merle.
And I like
Merle being the
huh?
MVP.
Huh?
Bateman was MVP last year.
Oh, Merle, that's right. Thank you. Sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself to the other main event. So and again, I think it works. I think it's fair. Going off of sheer time spent on a table, but yeah, THE, I think unsung hero so far for Free 5-All. But speaking of Free 5-All, we got one of my again, and again, as much as I miss the hyper sports element of these last 2 years, Free for All proved one thing. It's a lot of fun to just have random fucking people show up. Like the return of Mark Andreyko. Like the advent of seeing some of our favorite managers play. So, a little fun story for those of you who don't follow us on Twitter. And if you're not, what the hell are you doing? Nerd Academy Pod, or at the Nerd Academy 1 on Twitter. Go follow. Fun little advent of Travis getting a job. So we you know, this was Travis's in real time reaction to one John Kaiser joining the fray, which was very entertaining. And then, guys, we have a plot twist. Kaiser says Travis is managing me at next year's Free for All, and I will have my revenge, and I will find my arch enemy Brendan Fraser, aka George of the Jerk-Offs, and end him once for all. Hashtag Free for All. Hashtag new management. We also got a very sweet retweet from the Schmodown account itself, which was neat. But yeah, guys, Travis is managing his favorite player's manager.
It's meant to be.
It is. It's meant to be. It's meant to be. All I'm going to say is I've actively been auditioning for 2 years and I can get a spot in the FCL, but Travis is a manager because of a tweet. I'm not mad. It's not like I lost my favorite.
I don't have to know anything. I just have to go up and tell him what to do. It's very, very different gig. Very different gig.
You're implying that I don't know enough to play, Travis, and I don't know how I feel. I'm kidding. I'm being a dick. But yeah, no, that was really sweet. We're actually working on having guys on soon, so stay tuned. But yeah, Free for All was incredible. I went ape shit when Marisol won. Like that was such for me a shot in the arm. Like having watched Korruption be dissolved an hour and a half earlier, and then or not even like 2.5 hours earlier, and then getting all the way to the end of the free for all for Marisol to bring home that win. And again, it's one of those. Well, I'm trying to remember. Did Preston miss his last question, or was it just one of those situations where like the math was?
No, he missed. They were tied, and he just didn't. They missed hit. He just didn't have it.
Okay,
the last
I
one.
couldn't remember exactly how that shook out. But yeah, I was stunned, and I had lost all hope that night, and by that I mean I kind of forgot who all could feasibly be at free for all, and the moment that Korruption music started playing again, not her theme song, which threw me off. 'Cause- was it her theme music or was it just like the normal like
No, because
Korruption theme?
the Korruption theme played earlier for Shannon, and we were like, "Oh, it's Marisol," but she has her own music. Why would they be playing Korruption music right now? And then Shannon came out, and
That's right.
then
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
at the end they played her theme song, and you were like, "But Marisol already came out." No, wait, that was Shannon.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. It was a long night. We didn't finish
Yeah.
up until like 2 a.m. Uh
Honestly, that's
but
earlier
yeah.
than normal though for us.
Again, you guys, anyone who started watching this show, who isn't familiar with ye olden days of number one contender, where we didn't know how to operate the camera yet, and shit would just stop working in the middle of a show, and we would record the episodes at midnight at best. It was the Wild West for the number one contender podcast. For us back then. Now we just record it after wanting to take a nap. But anyway, Free for All was incredible. And again, not saying we're right, but Marisol's title shot could be used in very interesting ways that I think could turn the Schmodown on its head. Just very, very excited to see what Lady Justice does. And again, I don't know. What were we going to say?
I can see her using it for teams, right?
Yeah.
Does she have a number one contender shot lined up in singles right now?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Because I have ideas as to who's going where with what in the coming
Yeah.
days. Some of that involves the most recent Titans, so I'll save it for after that. I could very easily see Marisol using this for teams. Again,
Yeah.
assuming she ends up pairing up with Chance. But
Yeah. Well, again, she could do that. I'm split on I'm split on what I would like to see because part of me is curious if just because like any team, you kind of have to have those first couple matches to like get the synergy on and
yeah,
popping. And I'd be kind of nervous to see Marisol potentially waste the title shot in
mm-hmm.
teams. Like before her and Chance are well oiled enough, because I don't think whatever their team would be, if it happens, that they would have any issue getting to the top with,
Right.
with pretty
They would-
expediently, quite frankly.
They would pretty easily get to a number one contender shot on their own without any assistance.
Precisely. So, factoring that in, Marisol could skip the line and try to throw down with Sam again. And like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm rooting against Sam so much as I am rooting for Marisol. But that guy there's no way he has many more perfect games left in him.
Well, now that
Respectfully,
you've said it, yeah,
respectfully, like, again, Sam Levine is a legend. Again, my hot take is that I think he is better than Dan Murrell, and that I think Sam is like, of all time, GOAT. Now, if Mike picks up the singles belt this year at any point, Mike is the GOAT because he is the most versatile player and is a jack of all trades. And I'll die on that hill.
your boy's gonna
Sam's
have
the
to
GOAT.
run the gauntlet, though.
I know
'Cause,
he will.
Again, what I think
believe
is
him.
coming for singles, because now Dan has a number one contender shot.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Well, no. Well, Dan has a number one contender shot, and Danger Zone is back on the board.
That's what I was waiting for. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they also, Danger Zone is already lined up for their own number one contender match.
Yeah. So they can just do whatever the hell they want to keep doing repeatedly.
I think Merle uses it for singles. I think,
Oh, he absolutely does.
especially if Mike beats Bateman, because that's for a number one contender shot, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So Mike beats Bateman, Merle cashes in. He has to play Merle, and then somehow, and I don't mean that in like a demeaning way to Mike, but like if you somehow get through Bateman
Sam's
and
fucking
then
perfect
Merle,
this season somehow.
like you have to cross the guy that changed the game, the GOAT, and then perfect all season in a row.
Yeah. No,
At
you're
which
absolutely
point,
right.
I would concede GOAT status to Mike. If he managed to do that, I would gladly give him that title. Because, oh my God, the amount of nonsense that you had to go through would just
It'd be
be
something.
insane.
I'd never shut up about it.
Oh, I know you wouldn't.
But yeah, so I think all of that could happen. So I don't know how many perfect matches Sam has left in him. So, like, again, I think Marisol could jump the line, and you could end up with a situation theoretically, because if I'm not mistaken, Marisol cashing hers in takes priority.
Yeah, it probably just depends on when they do it.
I mean, probably just depends, but I think they would be.
Honestly, it's probably just a scheduling thing. Like,
I mean, probably, yeah. But like the way they frame it is that one, takes precedent, and sometimes
okay.
there's truth in that kind of thing.
So that all the number one contender stuff gets resolved. We have a person facing Sam Levine. Marisol cashes in. We get a fatal three-way title match.
I don't like it. I'm
not
Sam
saying
has
they
only
should
defended.
do it
Yeah, no, but it is a possibility.
because plane tickets are expensive.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. And like, I don't say scheduling thing to like. This is the beauty of the current format is that if they need to schedule things a certain way because of the way certain, they have that freedom to do that
Yeah.
without having to worry about any weird faction things or like scheduling out matches in it. We missed a title match that was hidden in Friday Night Titans. How
Yeah.
that was not a pay-per-view Titans, I will never know.
Yeah. They really gave that one out for free. I mean, I guess because they had a pay-per-view in Free4All,
Right. And like
but
that's
still.
a good way to get people in. Like you just watch 2 title matches, you want to see all these guys play again tomorrow.
But like it's
Fine.
Fortnite.
But like it's oh my god. Could you imagine one of them walks back out at number like 35? Like Sam Levine is both number 1 and number 35.
I would have to start drinking.
So would everybody else at the table.
Well, clearly they had beers in the tailgate. So.
Yeah, that super for wherever we're getting coming forward, super excited. We have one more Titans to talk about, I think.
Yes. I was impressed by Saul. I want to say Saul has gone from not even gone from. Saul was a character I wasn't super invested in. Recognized him as a powerhouse, recognized him as someone who was not to be trifled with. Not my favorite character. I really like Saul on this character arc so far. Like I like the one man show named Saul shit a lot. And honestly, I kind of want to see Saul start his own faction.
Yeah, I could see it happening. Given this Titans.
I mean, like watch him, like him, Peggy, Survivor. Be an interesting team. Be an interesting group of people.
I think this match is really important for Saul because up till this point, Saul has been very much I'm going to get out ahead of you, intimidate you into a miss, and then using that momentum, I'm going to KO you. Anytime the match has come to a slugfest, it doesn't work in his favor usually. He misses a couple times and that sets him back, and then his own strategy kind of works against him.
Yeah.
And this is the first time where the opposite, he fell behind and then kept punching back to get back to up ahead. I was beyond impressed with what he did. I think, this is a big level up moment for him as a player. I'm excited to see him play Kevin. I mean, obviously, I'm excited to see Kevin play in the first place, but like, I think Saul's a very worthy opponent. I like that him and Amaru have this like anime rivalry right now, where they're like, game sees game. We know eventually we're going to play a 5-rounder. Don't know when, don't know where. It's going to happen.
It is destined to happen.
Yeah. So
it is the writing is on the wall there.
I think these guys are quickly becoming the new faces of Inner Geekdom, right?
Yeah,
besides
they are the young blood.
Our boys. But
yeah.
Yeah, and I think what do you think of this challenge though? I'm curious. Cuz I have some opinions that mean nothing cuz I'm not in the Schmodown, but
so here's my thing with the challenge. if the challenge was I agree with the ruling.
Hmm.
If the rule is, because from what they said, their issue was that, what was the movie? Was it Time Cop? What was it?
Yeah,
No, Matrix.
it,
No, what was it?
it was Time Cop.
It was Time Cop. That they were
Time.
basically
It
like,
was in the list that they get for like what categories have what movies. Time Cop was not listed in time travel dystopian future.
no, but from what they said, Time Cop was on the list as a movie in the thing.
It's on
The
the
way,
list in Inner Geekdom in other categories, and that they, I
yeah,
guess, they are primed somewhere in their thing they get that movies can hop. Like again, assuming it makes sense for them to be in other categories, can hop categories, which
yeah,
I'm not super big on personally. I think that you should just have them listed in every category they're eligible for.
yeah,
Like, and obviously that, makes it easier on the people writing out the list. And I
yeah,
understand why that is the way that is. But, Amaru said in his post match, I had this list of movies in my head of what it could be, and none of them made sense. And he missed the question. Now, whether or not he would have had it knowing Time Cop was a possible answer, we don't know. Right?
yeah,
We don't.
yeah. I mean, that's valid, and I understand that. I also think on some level, with Inner Geekdom, with the nature of with the nature of a division that is based around genre, subgenre, and franchise, there's a lot of crossover. Like
Mhm.
how many superhero movies can I qualify as time travel dystopian future? You know, like
Yeah.
X-Men Days of Future Past is time travel dystopian future. I think you can make a solid argument that Avengers Endgame is time travel dystopian future. You
Yeah.
know, like
And
there's a lot of crossplay there that I understand them saying like some of these are applicable to others and will kind of meld into each other. And the fact that that disclaimer is there,
yeah,
like
yeah. I don't want to
that's
make
why
it
I
sound
agree with
like
it. If they never specified, and I'll stop talking over you in a second, I apologize. If that disclaimer wasn't in play, of just because something is listed here doesn't mean it couldn't show up elsewhere. I don't know where Time Cop is listed, but I don't think it's unreasonable to say that Time Cop could end up in the time travel category. You know what I mean?
Mhm. I don't want it to sound like I'm saying like, oh, Amaru got cheated out of points and got cheated out of a win here
Yeah.
because of this, whatever. That's, and obviously in the case of any game design, someone who is not designing the game or playing the game directly has the least say in rulings or, how things in the background work. Cause obviously they thought of that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure they like mocked up the list of what goes where, and it's like 14 pages long, and they're
Oh
like,
my god. Yeah.
no one in their right mind would ever look at this. Like at that point, you're just gonna play off the cuff. So to make it more reasonable for the players, right? I'm sure they went, okay, we know some of these can cross over. They'll know that some of these can cross over. I think in this
Yeah.
case, this was a showing point of Inner Geekdom players need to be a little more careful in considering stuff for categories. Because I mean it has gotten so much more difficult now. And having to consider so many, it's many singles at this point,
Yeah.
right? So to consider
I wouldn't even call it mini. I would just say a specific flavor.
Yeah.
You know, like I try like again, you know, because of the growth that Nerd Geekdom went through, it went from cape shit magic and stuff in space. This is really all IG was for the longest time. You know, like I said, cape shit, magic, and stuff in space with the occasional Back to the Future and Indiana Jones question.
Disguised as mixed bag.
Disguised as mixed bag. Today, it has
Anything that had an action figure in the 80s, right?
basically,
Which is is fine, and that's what Inner Geekdom. I think they've never asked an Inner Geekdom question since the change up that I've been like, why is that movie in Inner Geekdom? I think everything has always felt correct.
Yeah. Hell, you heard me start cackling when we watched the first match of the season, or technically, you know, Friday Night Titans episode 0 with Smets and Chandru. With it when they went in the category of Hasbro, and I almost fell off your fucking bed laughing because I was like, "This is such a perfect category for the new IG." Like, oh my god, whoever thought of this is a genius.
So
It's
yeah,
great shit.
Impressed with Saul. Amaru will be back. You know, he'll be up at a title match again. In the Titans near you.
I agree. I think we're going to see Amaru again very soon. You've also put pretty much all my thoughts of that match out for me. So, moving on to our final match of this episode. I've never felt so deceived by the Schmodown in my life. Because I sincerely thought Jeff was just going to become a new bit. And that nobody was, is that we were going to keep Jeff's identity concealed. For a moment, I went, what if this is how they sneakily bring Jeff Snyder back? For a moment, for a split fucking second. And I was what if this new team like goes all the way to a championship and they win a belt? And it was Jeff the N. Snyder, motherfucking Snyder. You know, and like there was going to be this big reveal upon winning a belt, right? That it was going to be someone we knew in like a ridiculous ass costume, and they were just going to keep that under lock and key for however long it took for them to get to that point. And when Jeff took off the mask, I was like, I had two reactions. It started as excitement to see that Danger Zone is still a thing, followed by instant dread that Dan Murrell is a heel now. And not only is Dan Murrell a heel now, Dan Murrell's a dick.
He's a Ben Bateman heel.
He's a Ben Bateman style heel. This new version of Dangerous Dan Murrell is a piece of shit, and I love it. And again, if it comes down to him and Sam, I love that dynamic so much. Where you have Sam, you know, who's risen from the ashes. You know, he's back out of retirement. He did some underhanded shit with the Shmominati, but he's back. He's doing his thing, you know, and he's just winning. He got himself back in the ring, and he just keeps winning. And now he has to go up against this corrupted, not in the fun way, version of one of his fellow legends. That's cool as shit to me. Travis, your thoughts?
From a meta perspective, I'm excited to see Dan get to flex his character muscles. Not something we get to see him do often, so that's kind of cool. The fact that Danger Zone as a team has doubled down on being Danger Zone excites me because, and they this is kind of their bit at the end of the episode was, Dan's angry that everyone, they got touted as a powerhouse team and then they didn't quite get there. And we said it on this show that, it seems like we put two cannons next to each other and they're just not firing in sync, and that happens.
Yeah.
With teams. The fact that they're doubling down on, no, this is going to work, excites me. Because it means now they've worked through their they had a whole season. They played as a team. They did well,
Yeah.
And playing in a digital format, I'm sure, didn't help. So now you have these two powerhouse players who are back and ready to play in studio as a team and just hose down the opposition. It's exciting because I wanted these guys to do well. Granted, Shazam will always be my heart and soul, and I want to see him get that fifth defense.
Oh man, that'll be crazy if they do it.
So, and excited to see whatever Peggy and Survivor do, because they did well. They used a lot of their JTEs very well in round one. They slugged through round two pretty well, given what they were given.
That was an interesting gameplay opinion Guy gave that I thought was interesting, where he was like the whole thing about how did he put it? You shouldn't have to use any JTEs in round two
on questions where you confer. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have your teammate, unless you really didn't hear the question and there's a clarification error problem. With two of you working together, you should be able to get there.
In theory, yeah, I thought that was a really interesting observation.
I don't think that's necessarily wrong. Obviously, it's still better to have them.
Yeah,
it's still better to have them for round three, right? For your 2 and your 3 and your 5 if need be. But
in any game where you have to manage resources, you never want any of your inventory to be zero. Unless you are depleting something to finish the game.
Mm-hmm.
What's the harm? But yeah, no, like I said, they Survivor and Gubbins handled themselves well, especially by the end of the match when you realize who the fuck they were playing against. It wasn't just Bateman and some guy. It was Dan fucking Merle. There is no version of playing against them where you should walk away hanging your head and shaking your head. Mm-hmm. You got that close. Take pride in that. You chin checked them a couple times. That's impressive. But yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited moving forward. I'm happy to have Danger Zone back. I'm hoping we're able to get Kaiser on the show because I really want to talk to Kaiser about how he's feeling about all this. Some wild times in ye old Schmodown. But yeah, I think that's all we have for you guys.
I think so.
All right. Sweet. Travis, where can the lovely people find you, my friend?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram, getting a job managing Kaiser, at Travis Political. Normally, I'd stick around for the wrap up, But I really need to use the bathroom and get ready for work. So,
Yes, you do. We started a little later than normal,
which is totally fine,
so,
by the way. Like, I'm not like scraping for time, but
yeah.
I am scraping for the bathroom. So
So
I will
get
leave
out
you
of here.
to it. Go buy our shirts and buy our Bloody Mary, not our Bloody Mary mix, but Sunday's Bloody Mary mix. Use our code, all that stuff. Jared, where?
T-public.com.
You brought up
Where?
the t-shirts. I had to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where, if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page.
Give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus and guest on tonight's stream, Nick Johnson. And to other loyal $10 patron, get 10% off your order with use code TNAP at saveinfowars.com. That's saveinfowars.com. Use code TNAP at checkout.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
From the front lines of the information.
Anyway, enough of that. So, like I said, guys, please come by. We're going to be talking Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness with multiple fan bases and comic book cast. Super excited for that. New main show this week. New teen app out tomorrow. We're going to have a new episode of Knights of the Nerd Republic because there's been another show that's been hard to record lately. We're going to be talking about Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. There's going to be some movie club coming your way.
This motherfucker don't miss.
I didn't mean to click on that clip. And like I said, Star Wars Celebration live streams covering all 4 days of news with special guests from our friends live from the convention floor. So yeah, Patreon, support us there. You get access to the Versus series and the audio commentaries that tie in with Movie Club. This month, we're going to be actually doing 2 episodes of the Versus series, one for the public and one for our patrons. The one for the public is going to be kind of like a preview for Obi-Wan Kenobi, where we're going to be speculating on who may or may not win in the rematch of the century between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then for our patrons, we are doing Kylo Ren versus Cal Kestis, the Jedi Killer versus the Fallen Padawan. So stay tuned for all of that. Please join us on our Patreon. $5 tier gets you access to, like I said, the audio commentaries and the Knights of the Nerd Republic Versus series. And $10 patrons get early access to the movie club episodes, and they also get the ability to hop into our streams. Now, granted, one of those $10 patrons will already be on the stream. So, Paco, that's all you, bud. So, yeah, TeePublic student store link. It's on our website. I already played the Wild Berries clip. I'm not going to do it again. But yeah, thank you all so very much for watching and listening. Be sure to share. Be sure to like. Be sure to comment. Be sure to rate the podcast on both Spotify and Apple, because that's an option. Or wherever you listen to this, if you actually listen and don't do the YouTube version. So yeah, thank you all so very much. And smash cancer.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar.